Do you see this right here? This little thing, this city this army moves to? Well, that city wasn't there before, and that is a Total War modding revolution. Let me tell you why. Total War used to be a modding haven for passionate members of the community. It took off like few other games out there with Rome and continued on with Medieval 2, where things went really crazy. On the old Total War Center forums, mods kept the community abuzz for years after the game's original releases. What Creative Assembly had delivered, namely amazing foundational games with ever better graphics and mechanics, was translated by the community into experiences one could have only dreamt of years before. And I'm not talking just reskins of units here, but massive overhauls of the campaign map or entire worlds entirely, like the legendary Third Age Total War mod. This was a golden age for Total War games and modding. Sadly, this all ended with Empire Total War. Total overhaul mods were no longer possible due to modding restrictions, which is why mods for Total War games for the past 15 years have been much less ambitious. That's not to say they haven't been amazing, of course. Modders have done what they can with what they have, and it's given us fantastic experiences such as the Great War for Napoleon, DEI for Rome 2, and Medieval Kingdoms 1212 for Attila. But none of them have managed to add or remove cities, or change up the physical look of their campaign maps. If you feel like changing your physical location without really actually moving an inch though, NordVPN allows you to safely browse the web whenever and however you want. If you're all about downloading awesome mods or want that extra layer of privacy and security, NordVPN's got you covered. It's not only the fastest VPN in the world, but allows you to access restricted or geo-blocked content where you live, while hiding and protecting your data and personal information from prying eyes, in part by hiding and changing your personal IP address. Join games with people from other regions completely risk-free and simply by the click of a button, and right now you can do all of this and with a massive discount by going to nordvpn.com/AndysTake. There's even a 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can use NordVPN on up to 6 devices at the same time. So go to nordvpn.com/AndysTake for a sweet deal right now. And now back to Total War modding. Enter Dawnless Days. For years now, the passionate and dedicated modders behind this Lord of the Rings mod have worked tirelessly to bring us awesome custom battles in this universe, all in the Attila engine, allowing us to simulate those larger-than-life Lord of the Rings battles. But one thing has continued to elude the modders: a working campaign map. Previous dev diaries have shown that they managed to actually alter Attila's map's physical appearance. But one massive obstacle has remained, namely to have the AI recognize cities, borders, and to differentiate between land and sea. Now, the modders behind Dawnless Days have finally cracked the code, and in their latest upload, showcase that they have not only managed to add a completely new city to the campaign map, but that armies are able to interact with them. If you've been with the channel or with the Total War series for a while, you know exactly how important this is and what a revolution this might turn out to represent. For the first time since Medieval 2, which as you might know came out in 2006, Total War fans might just get what we wanted all this time: actual grand overhaul mods which completely alters the experience. The first of these would of course be none other than a full campaign for Dawnless Days itself, and I can't believe this might come true, namely a full Lord of the Rings campaign, complete with the beautiful units we already have, all in the Total War Attila engine, which, while admittedly laggy, is beautiful and is arguably the best historical Total War of all time. Third Age Total War still delivers an incredible experience, of course, but I think it's time for a visual update, and my hope is that Dawnless Days will be the definitive Lord of the Rings strategy experience. Now, a big disclaimer here: the fact that the team behind Dawnless Days have shown off what's possible doesn't mean the mod is anywhere close to release. While you can still always play the custom battles and the current public release of the mod as is, actually finishing up the campaign map might take around a year, or of course, as long as it will. So even though we now have amazing news from the team and for the future of Total War modding, patience is still needed. What I think is just so exciting is what this might mean for Total War modding as a whole, and first of all with other Attila mods themselves. Medieval Kingdoms 1212 is the obvious other mod with enormous potential here. Currently, the mod is probably the best and most comprehensive mod for Attila, but because of engine limitations, it's not optimal. Major cities like Paris are not technically on the map to begin with, meaning that Paris is located in another city and location entirely, and the lack of important cities or their locations and size is a matter that keeps plaguing any overhaul mod. And while MK1212 has heroically managed to separate provinces into each city being their very own province, having a brand new campaign map tailor-made for the medieval period would be amazing. And not just in terms of historical accuracy either, but also in terms of size. And then there's of course the mod I showcased a few months ago, namely A Game of Ice and Fire, which not surprisingly takes place in the Game of Thrones universe. This might just be a dream of course, but it is actually the case that all of these mod teams have expressed a desire to work with campaign map tools to create maps tailor-made for their specific campaigns. And if that's possible within a year or so, we might actually soon be looking at Total War Attila as the definitive modding epicenter of modern Total War games. But might this mean something else for Total War games outside of Attila? I admit I don't know the finer details of modding, but we do know that most of the later Total War games utilize the same basic engine, at least to some degree. In other words, this modding breakthrough might just mean that Rome 2 campaign map modding is within reach, and perhaps even modding in Thrones of Britannia, which is very much based on the Attila engine. I don't know about the Warhammer games or even Three Kingdoms, but finding that out would be interesting indeed. In the end, time will tell what's going to happen here. And even though it might still be a year or so before we get something actually super juicy, tidbits like these show the continued dedication of and progress the modders are making. I think mods like these and the sheer achievement of managing this, and remember, it's been a long 8 years since Attila released, and that's just so depressing to say, showcases the state of Total War modding. And again, the modders are doing great, as I'm talking about the modding limitations of Total War since Empire. Compare Total War games to Paradox titles, where modders are able to virtually completely change any game into something completely different, be it other time periods or the size of the maps themselves, and suddenly Total War's approach seems completely antiquated. Calling it antiquated is of course weird, since the series was known for its awesome modding scene in the now distant past. Whereas it might take modders 9 to 10 years for Attila to receive a first version of a fully fledged overhaul campaign map, it took modders of Crusader Kings 3 less than a year to do the same. And while the complexity in the engines probably has something to do with this, the fact that the modding tools or engines are so much more tailored to be used in Paradox games, or even Bannerlord games for that matter, but so demanding to crack in Total War games, is a sad state of affairs to find ourselves in. Even when looking at other games entirely, like the Elder Scrolls games, it becomes clear that part of these games' longevity and community love is precisely because of the modding capabilities and the mods that have continued to be made and come out in the past 11 years. Total War games used to have that kind of longevity because of the mods, but these days, it seems that we're so reliant on CA to themselves make the games we previously could have developed through mods ourselves, whether intended or not by CA. And I do have sympathies for advanced engines, by the way. I wish things were different, and I do believe that if CA really wanted, they could make their games much easier to mod, as so many other companies have, despite having advanced and modern engines also. Again, Paradox, Elder Scrolls, and even Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord comes to mind, a game which in the next few years is likely to see a fantastic range of mods all on its own, even more so than it already has. But what do you think? Are you excited for Dawnless Days, its announcement, and what the mod might look like in the future? Do you believe Total War modding is inherently much more complex than other games? Or could CA make it much easier for modders to overhaul their games completely? Let me know in the comments below, make sure to subscribe to the channel and join the Discord, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!